If my 5 to 7-year-old art students can correctly use they them pronouns for their peers and accept non-binary kids without batting an eye, adults should be able to do it.
All right, guys, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the podcast, where I react to some of the most unhinged LGBT TikToks and give you my perspective as a normal gay person who doesn't want to be associated with this insanity. Today, I'm taking a look at some TikToks from LGBT activist teachers who apparently think the classroom is the right place to push their political agenda. Buckle up and prepare yourself, because some of these are pretty infuriating. Up first, this kindergarten teacher says that she has students at that young age who are already identifying as non-binary.
Just saying, if my 5 to 7-year-old art students can correctly use they them pronouns for their peers and accept non-binary kids without batting an eye, adults should be able to do it.
So let me get this straight. This teacher is saying she has 5, 6, and 7-year-olds in her classes who are identifying as non-binary and they, them. That's a giant red flag. I mean, as my friend Blair White put it, a non-binary 5-year-old is kind of like a vegan cat. We all know who's really making the choices. There's just no such thing as a non-binary kindergartner. That's very clearly coming from an adult in their life, because while gender dysphoria is a real thing that organically exists in some people, even as very young children, this feeling of like a third gender or non-binary or whatever it means, it's honestly pretty incoherent and ideological, isn't something that just naturally organically emerges unless that idea is presented to a young child. Like, what does a non-binary first grader or kindergartner even mean? A 6-year-old boy isn't not a boy because he doesn't want to play with G.I. Joes and wants to play with dolls instead. And in the same way, a 7-year-old girl isn't not a girl because she doesn't want to wear a dress or have long hair. That's all just sexist and reductive, and we just need to let kids be kids, man. And I just have to honestly roll my eyes, and it made me laugh. The idea that because young, impressionable children with mushy, undeveloped brains believe something, then adults should believe and accept it too. Oh, you mean the same kids who believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy? Citing the fact that you've convinced 5 to 7-year-olds who would believe almost anything that a person in a position of authority told them as somehow a reason adults should also be on board with your message or your movement is literally hilarious. It's just not the boost to your argument that you think it is, babe. And you should not be using your position of authority as a teacher to push such ideological and political concepts on young children. Up next, this preschool teacher tried to get preschoolers to use gender-neutral language for her, and it did not go how she expected.
Okay, guys, I can't. This is too funny. So I'm at work, and those of you who don't know me, I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a preschool teacher. So instead of using Mr. or Miss, we use mix. So the kids have been really awesome doing that. I work with 3 and 4-year-olds. One of my kiddos came up to me and he goes, "Are you mixed up? Are you mixed up?" I was like, "No, sweetie, I'm not mixed up. I just use mix instead of Mr. or Mrs." And he's like, "Okay, I was worried."
This one, honestly, it cracked me up because the kids are getting confusion from this person, and I'm getting confusion too, because the concept of non-binary still makes no sense to me, let alone to preschoolers. You're just a woman who likes to wear short hair or dyed hair and androgynous or men's clothing. And that's perfectly fine. Like, I really don't believe in these gender roles or stereotypes or that men and women have to act or look a certain way, but it doesn't change your biology. And in fact, you're reinforcing gender stereotypes by declaring that not being traditionally feminine must mean you're not actually a woman and you're some third category that you've invented. It's not a real thing, and you shouldn't be confusing young, impressionable children with it, and certainly not doing so in the name of our community, the LGBT community, because I'll just let you in on a little secret here, honey. Parents are not going to like this, and you're going to just lead. This kind of thing is already and will only continue as it becomes more widespread. And it's hard to say how widespread it is. We just see these viral videos, but it's certainly not existent with the sheer number of these videos. It is only going to lead to backlash to the whole community and backsliding in our acceptance. And that's why I don't like it on its merits, but I even think self-interestedly, it's just a really bad idea and a bad approach. Like, do whatever you want in your life, but just don't bring it into the classroom, especially not as young as preschool. My God. Up next, this one is even more ridiculous somehow.
One of my favorite teachable moments I've had as an educator came from students disrespecting pronouns. Now let me explain. Pronouns are a delicate art, especially in public school systems. So what I've always done in school and at after-school programs is during introductions, I always give mine, and in my little list of things I want to know, I say, you may specify your pronouns, you can also find me after, just so no one is forced and no one makes a big deal out of it. It's really more for parents than students. And it's always a mixed bag. Generally speaking, people just say them or don't say them and don't make a production. But, once a group, you'll get somebody making some kind of joke. And this is where it gets teachable. One, I have a good sense of who's joking, but I don't know for sure. So what am I going to do? Say to a class of kids, okay, good one, about a kid's actual name and pronouns? No. I take every single student at face value, and I just immediately respect whatever they say. And I will call them that name and pronouns as long as they let me. So the kid who's chuckling and going, he, him, and I want to go by T-Rex. He's T-Rex for the rest of the year. One of two things happens when I do this. One, usually, is what happens, which is, at some point, it starts following them to their other classes, and it actually starts being a joke against them. They find that they don't have control over this nickname anymore, and so they just asked me, actually, can I just go by Tyler, he, him? And I say, yes, of course. And the nickname fizzles, and they learn to just not make the joke. They aren't better people, but I take it as a win. The second one is much rarer, but is my favorite. It's happened twice. They start to really like the nickname. They like being T-Rex. It makes them feel special. It's something about their personality, usually. They throw out a name because they're funny or whatever, and now the world sees them as this funny guy. And they saw how easy it was for me to just accept it, even if I thought it was ridiculous. Even if I didn't understand it, I didn't have to make a joke. I could just accept it.
So even though it was a little more buttoned up than some of the other ones, I actually somehow found this one more disturbing. It's actually ridiculous for an adult, let alone a teacher, to simply accept whatever a child tells them at face value. If a kid comes to you and tells you their pronouns are pumpkin/spice, it's not your job to affirm them and actually try to somehow use those when referring to them. It's your job to tell the kid that those aren't pronouns and that they're being silly. Also, no one should accept things that don't make sense to them or that they don't understand. That's not exactly practicing critical thinking or intellectual honesty. It's just going along with the path of least resistance to avoid conflict. And it's definitely not a teacher's job to play mind games or trick or embarrass students into embracing a certain view of gender and pronouns. Couldn't you just stick to teaching your subject? Teachers like this, honestly, they make me worried to be a parent. I know there's so many good teachers out there and that these are just hopefully fringe internet crazies, but how do I make sure that these people don't end up teaching my kids one day? I really want to know. All right, guys, I don't really think I can handle any more LGBT TikToks in one sitting without incurring permanent brain damage. So let me know what you thought of those in the comments. I do this, but I will be honest, it can be draining and a little bit soul crushing. So I hope you appreciate me for just the sacrifice I'm making. Some people, roof houses, they build ditches, but I fade into the perilous territory of alphabet TikTok. So who are the real heroes in society. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in for my conversation with Colin and joining me as we lost some brain cells reacting to those TikToks. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, yada, 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 and hopefully I'll see you all again next week.